Scientists spent decades convinced that life in the deep ocean was nearly impossible. They were spectacularly wrong. For centuries, we believed the deepest parts of the ocean were lifeless deserts, silent, still, cold, a place where nothing could possibly survive. The pressure alone would crush almost any living thing. The darkness is absolute. No sunlight reaches those depths, ever. Yet in the 1970s, oceanographers began discovering something that fundamentally rewrote everything we thought we knew about life itself. It started quietly, almost by accident. Scientists were studying the geology of the ocean floor near the Galapagos Islands, using early submersibles to explore volcanic ridges. They weren't looking for life. They were mapping rocks, measuring heat, collecting data about Earth's crust. But then, through the portholes of their submersible, they saw something impossible. Towering chimneys of rock and mineral rose from the seafloor, venting superheated water, some as hot as 400 degrees Celsius. Around these vents, in water that should have been sterile and barren, life was thriving. Thick mats of bacteria, ghostly white crabs, tube worms as long as your arm, their tips glowing crimson red. An entire ecosystem hidden in the abyss. The discovery shattered a fundamental assumption. We'd always believed that life depended on the sun. Every living thing on Earth, we thought, ultimately traced its energy back to photosynthesis, plants using sunlight to create the base of the food chain. But here, in absolute darkness, miles below the surface, life had found a completely different way to exist. Instead of relying on the sun, these organisms had discovered something far more primal. They were using chemosynthesis, drawing energy directly from chemicals in the superheated water flowing from the Earth's interior. Hydrogen sulfide, methane, minerals dissolved in the water. It was like tapping into the planet's own heartbeat. The bacteria at the vent's mouth were the true pioneers. They oxidized the hydrogen sulfide, using the chemical energy to build organic molecules from scratch. Everything else, the crabs, the worms, the fish, depended on these bacteria. An entire food web built on chemistry instead of sunlight. It was the first evidence that life could thrive in conditions we'd thought were impossible. News of the discovery spread slowly through the scientific community. At first, many researchers were skeptical. How could this be? The organisms were unlike anything in textbooks. Some were entirely new species. The whole concept challenged what biologists had taught for generations. But the evidence was undeniable. The submersibles kept returning with more samples, more footage, more mysteries. What fascinated scientists most wasn't just that life existed at the vents. It was how abundant it was. These weren't isolated organisms clinging to survival. These were thriving communities, sometimes so densely packed that the vents looked like underwater forests. The biomass around a single vent could rival that of a tropical rainforest on land. The giant tube worms were particularly astonishing. Some grew to be over 3 meters long, longer than a tall human. They had no mouth, no digestive system, no eyes. Instead, they harbored colonies of chemosynthetic bacteria in a special organ called a trophosome. The bacteria fed the worm. The worm sheltered the bacteria. A perfect, ancient partnership born in the dark. As exploration continued, scientists realized something even more profound. These vents might hold clues to one of humanity's deepest questions. How did life begin? Early Earth was very different. No oxygen in the atmosphere, volcanic activity everywhere, minerals and chemicals abundant. The deep sea vents resembled what scientists imagined the primordial ocean might have been like. Perhaps, some researchers theorized, life didn't begin in shallow, sunlit pools as many had assumed. Perhaps it began right here, in the deep, in the heat, in the chemical richness of hydrothermal vents. Life emerging not from the sun's gentle light, but from the Earth's raw, violent energy. It was a humbling possibility. More vents were discovered over the following decades, not just near the Galapagos, but along mid-ocean ridges worldwide. Thousands of them, possibly tens of thousands. Each one a small oasis. Some vents were hot and mineral-rich. Others were cooler, more stable. Each supported its own unique community of organisms, adapted precisely to its conditions. The creatures themselves became increasingly strange and wonderful. Eyeless shrimp with light-sensing organs on their backs, snails with shells made of iron sulfide, essentially living in armor forged from minerals. Fish with bioluminescent lures dangling from their heads. Evolution, working in isolation for millions of years, had produced solutions unlike anything in the sunlit world. What struck scientists most was the resilience. These organisms thrived in conditions that would sterilize a hospital, temperatures that would boil water in the surface world, pressures that would crush submarines, chemical compositions that seemed hostile to life. Yet life didn't just persist, it flourished, it adapted, it innovated. The slow discovery of the deep-sea vents changed how we understand life itself, not as something fragile, dependent on the sun, confined to a narrow band of conditions, but as something far more creative, more adaptable, more determined. Life doesn't just survive in oases, it creates them. It finds energy where we thought there was none. It builds communities in the darkest places. Today, these vents remain among the most actively studied ecosystems on Earth. New species are still being discovered. New questions keep emerging. Scientists wonder if similar vents might exist on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn beneath their icy shells. Perhaps life, as we're learning, is far more common in the universe than we ever imagined. In the depths of our own ocean, hidden from view, these extraordinary communities remind us of something essential. Life is creative, it's persistent, it finds a way even in the places we thought were impossible, and maybe, as we drift towards sleep, that thought brings a quiet comfort. If life can thrive in absolute darkness, in crushing pressure, against impossible odds, perhaps we're more resilient than we know. Subscribe for more journeys through Earth's hidden wonders. Each week, a new discovery waiting in the quiet dark.